Welcome to Leading for Life Stories, Season 3. I'm Bob Judson, I'm the host for this podcast, and I'm absolutely delighted to have you here joining me. Regardless of whether you're a seasoned listener who's been with me since the beginning, or whether you've just dropped in for the occasional episode, I really hope you enjoyed the mix of content that I provide, the personal stories, the thematic episodes, and the guests that I have on the show. And I hope you find it all interesting and at least some of it useful. And without further ado, let's go. Hi, everybody. It's been quite a while since I did a video podcast, and so I thought it was high time that maybe I did another one. And it's approaching Easter. I've just finished a training course, delivering a training course for Deloitte University, and I'm making this at the stunning setting that is Deloitte University. And I thought it'd be quite a good time just to show you a little bit of this campus. You'll see regularly I write on LinkedIn about the courses I've done here. And it's a huge privilege to be here about once a month and to help bright young minds develop and get better along their leadership journey. And the reason I thought I'd do this particular podcast was because today's course made me quite reflective in a number of ways. And so I've really entitled it Reflections for that reason, because we do an exercise on the High Impact Leadership course, which is for senior managers who are approaching their director journey. And we call it the 5 Whys exercise. We ask them to think about their vision statement. Why should anybody be led by them is the strapline of the course. And their vision statement, when they're starting to mature it a little bit, they pitch it to another participant on the course, and that participant will respond to them with 5 why questions. So to demonstrate this, I worked with my co-facilitator today and gave a little bit of my own vision statement, not about what I do at Deloitte anymore, of course, but more about what I do generally and why I enjoy the work that I do and why I think it's valuable for other people. And my co-facilitator asked me some great questions. It was, why is this important to you? Why do you think it makes a difference to the participants? Why do you think you are the right person to be doing this kind of training for them? Why do you think from their point of view they really develop as a result of what they get from you? Those were the kind of questions that she was asking me, and it really made me pause a little bit on the back of my little pitch, which talked about what I've done, and think hard about, why do I do that? And what do I get from it? And they were great sort of reflective questions for me, which I think actually for everyone to turn around and consider why you do what you do. It's a good thing to do occasionally. Are you doing the right things? Have you got that right? Are you needing to change stuff? Are you needing to refocus a little bit on what you do? Because for me, when I sat down and thought about what I was going to say in the initial pitch that I was going to do for this session, I reflected on the fact that this year will be 45 years since I entered the workplace. That's a long time in anybody's language. A lot of that time in the Air Force, a bit of time working full-time at Deloitte, and the last 6.5 or so years doing what I do now. And I really, really value and enjoy what I do now in terms of the give back that I have to be able to turn around and help other people with some of their own journeys, some of their development as they move forward in their leadership journey in particular. And this is Deloitte University. It's a truly spectacular setting that really does show the investment that Deloitte as a company has made in its individuals. And it's very impressive, and you see that in the participants' faces when they arrive here and they walk in at the reception desk, and it's a jaw-dropping experience for them because they suddenly realize this is a firm that really is serious about investing in my potential and what I actually do. And I'm just going to take you for a little walk and show you a little bit more of this amazing campus as we go around and just talk about some of those aspects of what I've done, because I reflect on the fact that I not only entered the workplace 45 years ago, but on the back of some really challenging stuff. My father having died when I was very young, my mother having to work really hard to bring me up, and the challenges that went with my life as a youngster with her as an independent mum, single mum in the 60s. That was hard, and it gave me a real kind of background early on in resilience. It gave me a chance to really toughen up, I suppose, when I went to boarding school. And that was really, really good for me, but it gave me a great grounding. And, I then jumped into the Air Force, obviously with all that military discipline that went with it, all the opportunities that I had. I think back to the fact, as I've talked about on some of my podcasts, that I was on the front line when I was a 21-year-old. I had an atom bomb on the bottom of the aeroplane. I then had opportunities to turn around and go and work in some really exciting and challenging roles in a whole bunch of places around the world, and lead some interesting and big organizations, increasingly big as I got more senior. So that kind of toolbox of tips and ideas and things that I often talk about, I have got quite a full toolbox when I really reflect on it. And I've been incredibly lucky with the way that's played out for me. And, that, I suppose, just gives me pause some of the time to think how fortunate I was, despite some challenges at the start, to really get into a position where I can now do the kind of stuff that I do. And I think for everybody, whatever stage you're at in your career, just have a chance to reflect a little bit on where you are on your own journey. What can you now do to make sure that others have the same good fortune as they follow you? Because that's an important thing, I think, to leave some kind of legacy of what you've done. You need to be thinking about, how can I turn around and impart what I've done to other people? How can I make a difference to other people? How can I make a difference to what I do day to day? Just to make sure that it's not just about you. It's about, what you're actually bringing for the benefit of others. And it's enormously gratifying to do the kind of work that I do now, whether it's coaching individuals and seeing those light bulb moments when people really do transition. They really change. They suddenly realize, wow, okay, this has made me really think and reflect. Whether it's leadership exercises where actually we're just giving them, again, another dimension to the sort of things they're thinking about and doing. These are important areas that you can actually really help. And unless you sit down and think about it, you don't fully appreciate some of the time how much experience you've gained yourself and how much you therefore have to give when you get the opportunity to give it back. And when you get the opportunity to do it in a place like this, with all that it offers and all the surroundings and the serenity and the peace and quiet that it brings, it makes a huge difference. These outdoor spaces that we have here for the summer now coming up, where we can train people outside in a completely different environment, the wildlife that's here, the wetlands, the natural habitat that they've created for all sorts of different things, the classrooms that you're looking at now. These are spectacular training areas that really do have a huge amount of natural light. They're great facilities, of course, as you'd expect. And so that gives you a real lift in terms of a setting. But the setting is only part of the equation. The setting has to be matched with the content. And if you haven't got great content to deliver and great ideas to impart, then of course it doesn't really matter what the setting looks like. But you will have those great ideas. You individually, if you develop yourself properly over time, you will be in a position where you know a lot. You have hugely good ideas and hugely valuable ideas that you can give to other people to set them off on the same kind of journey that you've been on potentially, and potentially be better than you as you go along as well. So that matters. Think about how you can do that. What can you do that really helps to shape people and develop them as you go forward? And it was really quite a moment for me today, because I'd never really sat back and looked at what I do myself and how I've developed myself in terms of the opportunities I've had and what I've done with them. And and actually that's quite satisfying when you look at it in that kind of way, but not in a kind of, I suppose, self-aggrandizement way, just in terms of being presented with the opportunity to do something with it. And that matters, really matters. And so I thought this would be quite a good opportunity just to have that kind of conversation. And, to walk around and give you a little bit of a view of a place that I think is immensely impressive, because it just is. And, looking at the wildlife here, these are all the things that are here in this environment that, again, are just for wonderful adds to the experience that people have when they're here to do some training. I don't want to make this a particularly long podcast because I don't think that's really helpful. I just think it's an opportunity to give you some similar pause for thought, I suppose. Have some time for yourself sometimes. Sit there and reflect. Look at what you've done. Look at what you've achieved. Because I'll bet you it's more than you actually think it is. Test that on somebody else. Talk about what you've actually got through in your life, what you've done, what your experiences are, however young you are, however old you are. And be conscious of what you have to give back, because that really, really does make a difference to people when you have an opportunity to do that. So I hope this has been useful. It's really, really short. It's Easter coming up, as I say. Have a wonderful time over the holiday period, and I shall be back again very soon with a much more normal podcast. But goodbye for now from Deloitte University, and thanks very much indeed for listening as ever.